Good morning. So, I know what a lot of you will think when I say this, because you'll say, well, you've made a couple of disparaging videos about this person, and I made them at the time because I was responding to things that she'd said. And I felt strongly enough to make a comment about it. So, that being said, you know, I 100% support what Jules is saying in a live that she just made, because, I mean, it's something that many of us say. I certainly say. We know we're being manipulated. We know that, you know, Google's YouTube behemoth is taken over by MSM, and there's a lot of fakery out there. There's a lot of actors, yes, on YouTube. And as Jules said, you know, you used to be able to come on YouTube for the real story and to have real discussion and to see people put forth their point of view. There might be people like Tori Hartman talking about Christopher Watts, and that would open your mind one way, and then you'd have someone else's perspective or someone else's perspective. And this is back in the day, 2 years ago, when YouTube crime community was actually a thing. Now it's just a ravaged, heaving, satanic mess. And it is, because, you know, you've got to think about energy. Sorry, I'm yelling again, aren't I? I'm so sorry. You've got to think about energy. You've got to think about what takes you over, because we are quantumly exchanging energy with all those around us and with all that we interact with. And when you let something infect you, you know, the Morphew case is a really great example of this. Have you actually got an infection rather than a thought? Look at this dear little thing. She's deaf and blind, this one. Hello, baby. Hi, puppies. And what are you doing about this infection? You got a prickle, darling? What are you doing about this infection? Are you trying to protect yourself, treat it? Are you putting salt in the wound? You know, YouTube's been taken over by slick and slicker and by dull and duller, and it's not the platform that we all came on here for, that we all used to love. To come on and to see real people discussing real cases. I think it seems like you've forgotten that the people that you are bullying and harassing and telling lies about, or making cartoons about, or sorry, I'm a bit tired at the moment. I can't think of my words. You know, but you're making content about people that are real people. Don't forget that. It's like it's entertainment, you see. It's like you're just taking part in some sort of interactive movie. It's like all the gaming culture. It's like gaming culture and mindless entertainment culture has come to real life. It's come to you in your lounge room, and the way you treat people, it's as if they're not real. It's as if they're just characters. You know, Barry Morphew is not a character, and nor is Andy Mormon. But, you know, seem to be a few caricatures being created. You know, if you think you know, on YouTube, we used to come on and based on fact, we used to say, wow, well, okay, if this is definitely fact, we can tie that down. Let's look at the next thing. What does this mean? And there was a measured intelligence to it. And yes, we could be a little bit salacious, and, you know, there was an element of voyeurism, probably, of course, but there was so much. Sorry, I've got hay fever and my nose is running, sorry. But there was real interest in how did this happen, what has happened, and how can we understand this human condition? How can we understand what came before the crime? Are we like any of these people involved in this crime? Could this happen to us? What can we do to prevent it? Was it preventable? You know, what sort of person have we created in society where these sort of murders of children happen so easily and often? What is it about our culture, this strive for the perfect life that we want to show off on YouTube, etc., or use to sell products and support our lifestyle? What is it about that is making us want to kill as a way out? What is it that's making us shallow? What is it about it that makes us be just a whole lot of separate entities? Leave that, darling. Jostling for leave that, darling. You know, a place in the world, because we're all competing against each other to be the skinniest, the coolest, the prettiest, the one with the nicest show home, the one with the best behaved children, you know, all the editing of people's videos, you know, before they even put up a video, so that people think you're skinnier and prettier and younger. I mean, what good is that doing anybody? You know, then people go out into the world and they wonder where all these beautiful people are. Well, they're just like you and me. They're just like you and me with, you know, baggy knees, baggy 50-year-old knees, and, you know, crow's feet. But you're not allowed to see them. Let's get the light right. Let's get that ring light bright. Let's, you know, only shoot. I won't move my arms. I'll just talk like this, because this is my best side. Then you don't see that I've got a weak chin or whatever, or that I'm fat, or, you know, really. And then people don't really understand what they're looking at or who they're listening to. Look at what's happened in true crime with, you know, Fox News being manipulated by these programs that have huge vested interests in what's going on, because, you know, they are using you as a dry run for a program that is going to take over the world. You know, that is basically what it's all about, is someone sitting in a control room like the Wizard of freaking Oz, pulling levers. You know, insert Machiavellian laugh. You know, that's truly what's going on. Snap out of it. I mean, YouTube's fucked, and we've been saying this for a year. You know, it's really been taken over. All the news shows want to come on here because no one's watching television anymore. So then you're getting all the junk. And worse though is now you've got YouTubers putting out the junk. We used to come on here so we would get the fact, the truth, and real people reacting in a real way with their life experience. And that was a learning process. It was a bonding process. It was a really beautiful thing. It was amazing. And now it's just, I mean, and there's always been the trolls like, you know, Trisha Paytas and just people that are media savvy and you know, good self, there's always been that sort of thing. But that's, you know, a lot more harmless than having the situation we're in right now with true crime especially, you know, and just, I think, stop and think about what is happening inside your body and mind to control how you think about what's happening with Barry Morphew and missing woman Suzanne Morphew. And are you really in control of your thoughts and your decisions and the conclusions that you're making? Are you in control? And are you believing certain things because you believe certain lies or certain things that aren't fact? Or are you believing in certain things because you're being told to, and you're purposefully being manipulated with the information that you're getting? You know, and it's not the full story. And trust me, people out there putting out a lot of information, they lie purposefully, they gaslight, which by that I'm saying it in the sense of they will tell you that someone said something so that it's too late. You just believe it. Then later you find out it's not true, but that person doesn't care. They've moved on to the next lie. So, you know, and all this follow the money bullshit and stuff, yeah, follow the money. You really actually should follow the money. But what they think you mean by that is, let's follow Barry Morphew's money. Wow, you've got to complete your thought process. If you're going to follow Barry Morphew's money, you've got to follow all money. Barry Morphew doesn't look like he's better off without Suzanne. It looks like he was better off with Suzanne. There's only one person benefiting so far from Suzanne being missing, or two people, or a family, isn't there? And it's not Barry Morphew. You know, yes, I will wholly accept if law enforcement, and this process could take years, no matter if you've got groups like, you know, big behemoth organisations like the Cold Case Foundation who are backing profiling evil, no matter what you've got them doing to push this case along, we know, true crime community knows, we know that these cases can take years, okay? Now, I am perfectly capable and able and willing to accept, if it happens, when Barry Morphew is arrested for this murder, the trial goes on, if he's found guilty or if he does confess, perfectly able to accept that. That is fine, because I know it's definitely a possibility. Most of us do. Occasionally 1 or 2, 3, 4, probably, let's say, well, actually it's probably just a quiet majority, or they're not on YouTube, but there are people that believe Barry to be 100% innocent, and actually that is a very good possibility also. How can you not see that? It's speaking up for stopping bullying and harassment doesn't mean you are a Barry lover. Do you know what these drongos come on my channel to say, or onto my comments, I mean, rather, on other channels? They'll say, oh, okay, Barry. I mean, they can't even click on an avatar to see who they're talking to. This is the caliber. This is the caliber of people. But this is the, it's like, you know, they're stuck in your downdraft, or that they're in your slipstream, aren't they? And you're just dragging them along. And that's what you want, because you want to know that you can control the crowd. You can tell them what to do and how to think. That's the experiment, isn't it? Experiment. And, you know, so many of you, when you argue for Barry Morphew being guilty, look, fair enough, there's enough to argue for just with what we know as fact. But most of you, when you argue it, you bring up complete bullshit. You bring up things that aren't confirmed, that are lies, that are just circumstantial, that are not the full story. You're useless. Okay, that is just useless to do it. It just shows your ignorance, but most of all, it shows your darkness. It shows your darkness. It shows that you've been involved in a very dark energy exchange. Do you understand that it's like an infection that has you? You are swapping light within your body, within your, you're swapping the ability, just that light exchange with the energy of the universe. You're swapping that for the dark energy of something else. That's what you're doing. Stop and think about how you feel. Just snap out of it. You could probably snap out of it like coming out of hypnotism and realize, whoa, what was going on there? Oh, I was bocking like a chicken. I was jumping up on my chair and doing a handstand and saying I'm Pippi Longstocking. Wow, but that didn't come from me. Where did that come from? Well, that's what you're letting in. You're letting it in, and you've got to know yourself. You've got to slow things down. You've got to take control, and you've got to think about your own mind. And fair enough, if you want to come to some conclusions that are based on fact, and we're not talking just based on common sense or even life experience nearly, although that is actually what we enjoy talking about these things through that type of filter. That's interesting. That's why we come on YouTube. We want to hear the filter information from people that have had certain life experiences. It's how we grow, and it's interesting. And, we realize that there's not just one way in the world. But what's happening is you are vessels. You're being empty vessels. You're allowing people to fill you up, and then you're just pouring out the hot oil into the boiling water, and it's going splattering everywhere, and it's burning people. It's taking out their eyes, and it's damaging your own heart. It's damaging your own humanity, how you feel about human beings, how you think about things, because you're not thinking. It's enough to say that Barry Mormon suggested a mountain lion. Now, why do you then have to make sure, let's make sure that people don't miss the fact that he owns a bobcat. Okay, yes, Barry Morphew may have put Suzanne onto that tray of the bobcat, and then that bobcat has touched other things. But that bobcat was also there on Sunday morning at the home for an abductor to lay her in, perhaps, or to take her somewhere in, and to return, because those keys were available to staff of Sunset Farms and to others. Now, that's a known fact. That bobcat was available for other people to touch and use and drive. But yes, I know, I understand. Maybe Barry went and got his bobcat. Why would he have even... If this was so planned, why would he plan to go and get that in the middle of the night? Wouldn't have he left it somewhere else? Or, it's just, there's so many things that go, oh God, if this is so premeditated, duh. By Barry, I mean. But there's a lot of things that say if it was premeditated by someone else, a lot of things kind of make sense if you're wanting to frame someone. Just saying, just saying. You've just got closed minds like steel traps, and it's not to say you're not going to be essentially right at the end of the day, but how you're getting there it's cruel, it's stupid, because you're not even the way you repeat fake news, the way you repeat things that aren't true, you should be ashamed. You should be embarrassed. Really embarrassed, deeply embarrassed. You know, Suzanne's brother has happily told you things that aren't true because he knows they'll get repeated, and then he just goes, oh, yeah, it doesn't matter. He just moves on to the next gaslighting lie, you know, and he's got profiling evil pushing him along into it because, you know, he's their puppet, you know, and how many other people are their puppet? Lauren Schaff. You can say she's a journo in her own right. I mean, look, she needs to get comfortable in front of a camera because she can't, you know, string a sentence together. She can barely get one word out at a time. She's obviously extremely uncomfortable being in front of people and talking. But she can play act when she's got Barry Morphew on the phone because she's been probably told what to say and ask. And then I can guarantee that those interviews that have played have been taken completely out of order and context. You know, yeah. Lauren Schaff was groomed and used. Okay? Just accept it. Sorry, Lauren, but you know it's true. So, you know, when people just don't want bullying, harassment, even if it is of a murderer, because you're not thinking straight. You are hurting a nuclear family, and you're hurting a nuclear family that could have had a very deep, close love. Maybe it's highlighting the fact that you are not a close, loving family. The amount of you that say you're Christian, wow, no you're not. You're actually taken over by Satanism at the moment. That's what it's like. Its dark forces are inside you. There's nothing Christian about you. You don't seem to be able to... Okay, so Suzanne wanted a divorce. Well, why aren't you talking about what a deep moral struggle that would have been for Suzanne to even contemplate? She definitely would have sought counsel with church groups, with parish leaders about that. Now, okay, maybe that was why she was involved in domestic violence, but you're not even trying to pursue the truth first. You just shoot off, damage lives, and then you go, and then there's no apology. I mean, we've got Brandon of Tube Crime bringing up the death of Barry Morphew's father. That is disgusting. That is, you should be ashamed, Brandon. You should be ashamed. This man died young and it was sudden. Now that could have been anything. Was this man, I'd like to know, was Barry Morphew's father a war veteran? Is this who you're disparaging? Did this guy commit suicide because, you know, died peacefully, died suddenly, died after a short illness? This is euphemisms that we use in society for suicide. But no, you're just saying that Barry Morphew killed his own father because he's that much of a greedy pig. You've lost your way. You have lost your way. But then again, maybe you're just being a good little soldier, aren't you? Is that what it really is? Do you have... Can you perceive? Can you reflect on what you've been made into to be saying those things? Now I know you say, oh, it's art, it's just a way of expressing something to get a point across. This is real families, real people, Brandon. I was so... I can't explain how saddened I was to see that. I think it's unforgivable.